All right, joining us today on Pirate Radio Live, Arizona Cardinals reporter Bo Brack. Bo, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Just trying to stay cool out here in the desert.
Yeah, it's I think it's 89 out here in Eastern North Carolina. I can only imagine how it is out there in the desert.
Yeah, it's we're approaching the 110s part of the
Jeez.
summer where it's just like, all right, stay inside, find a cold drink, and maybe pool somewhere. So, but things are heating up. We're about a month out from training camp here, and excited, man. It's just hurry up and wait.
Yeah, I cannot wait for football. Baseball, I cover college baseball, so I mean that's wrapping up. I
Mhm.
don't really keep up with the MLB, but football's right around the corner, and we're all very excited here. Starting off, we'll talk about former ECU wide receiver Zay Jones. He started the season suspended last year.
Yeah.
Didn't really put up many numbers. I think I got it written down: 8 receptions for 84 yards on the whole season. So, how is he coming into this season?
Yeah, a bit of a surprise that he was somebody that they, prioritized bringing back as part of the wide receiver core because of just there wasn't much to it. And I think a lot played into that 5 game suspension that he had to serve for the incident that went down the previous year. And, I don't know if anybody was kind of blindsided by the ban, but, he comes back. They utilized another week for him to kind of get up to speed and then you just didn't see much of him until the regular season finale, which was just kind of a Cardinals team and a 49ers team that both weren't playing for anything, but Zay Jones put forth his best performance, 46 yards, a big time catch from Kyler Murray. But I think, Zay Jones proved his worth beyond the playing field. I think kind of as a mentor to this young receivers room, he was always so gracious with his time with reporters, and I know it was with his teammates, where he was trying to utilize his tenure so far in the NFL and teach these guys kind of the ropes. And I think they saw the value there, and then realized like, hey, if he gets a full season under his belt, maybe he can be somebody who plays 3 positions at the wide receiver spot that they could use as a depth piece.
Yeah, and before I got up, which I was just thinking like, as Zay Jones probably going to be like a cut candidate maybe early in the
Mm-hmm.
preseason, but I looked at the depth chart and yeah, there's not much there, so I could see him playing a pivotal role on the team, especially as a mentor. Like you said, very young, and you got Marvin Harrison Jr. It seems like
Mm-hmm.
just a star waiting to blossom. Didn't have the year many expected him to have in his rookie season. How has he come along early on in this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, I think the expectations were sky high for Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, he was the consensus top wide receiver in a stat class that included Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., Lad McConkey, to just name a few. And Marvin Harrison Jr., as far as his numbers, you look at him, he's looking up at most of those guys. I mean, it was a pedestrian 60 plus catch, 880-yard receiving season. Did have the 8 touchdowns, which tied the Cardinals rookie record, which Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Bolden, those are some names that anytime your name's next to them, that's impressive.
Yeah.
But I think people realize that the ceiling is a lot higher for Marvin Harrison Jr. And I think a guy who's kind of very reserved off the field, it just took a little bit more time at a position that's more kind of there's a lot of divas that command the football. He had to kind of him acclimating to the pro level, just a little bit more time and reps and stuff like that. Saw his body transition this offseason, bulked up. He's a lot bigger, added some muscles to that 6'4" frame. I think he is poised to make a big jump in year two. But year one, good, solid rookie season, but strangely short of expectations. So I think people looking for a lot more from MHJ in year two.
Yeah, and I mean, just what he did at Ohio State, and then just having the name Marvin Harrison, he's going to
Mm-hmm.
be expected to do a lot of things. So interested to see how he gets going this year. Jonathan Gannon going into year three. What do you think that looks like? I'm a big fan of Jonathan Gannon, and I think he's the right guy there in Arizona,
Yeah.
but haven't really seen a lot of success so far.
Yeah, and that wasn't, the pressure immediately for Gannon and even GM Monty Ossenford. I think the assignment was tear this thing down, rebuild it from the studs, and they've done that. In year two, I think there was a little bit of a surprise. There was certainly a jump, but you saw kind of with the organization a culture change, like a stark culture change, and JG's kind of the one leading the charge there. And he did benefit from not having to be judged on wins and losses because he didn't have the personnel to compete. Really, yeah, last year, I think a little bit better because of the deep draft class and Kyler Murray being back for a full season. But now the expectations in year three, they're very real. They're now you got to maybe kind of kick the door in for a playoff spot. Even though I don't think that that's going to be the determining factor of whether or not he sticks on. I think Jonathan Gannon is really kind of got the direction his organization pointed the right way. And now it's just like, okay, we're going to learn a lot about him as kind of the coach, like now that it's like, okay, they winning football games. Is he a guy that's going to factor into them falling short of that, or is he just going to be a guy that's going to put them in a position year in and year out to win football games? So it's a big year. It's a pivotal year for everybody. I mean, you can look at all the marquee names on this roster, this coaching staff, this front office. Like year three, this has kind of been a little bit of a long time coming. Now it's like, okay, they're going to push all their chips in the middle and see if they can kind of break through. And JG is a big part of that.
Yeah, and you look at the division and just look at all the moves they've made this offseason just over the last
Yeah.
couple years. I think this could be a year that the Cardinals are a sleeper. Not a lot of people expecting really anything from them, but you look at the
Yeah.
Rams, I guess they would be on paper the favorites. I mean, just having Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford, adding
Hmm.
Devontae Adams, but something could go wrong there. The Niners, I mean, they still have Kyle Shanahan, but they lose a lot of guys to free agency and just getting old. And then the Seahawks, if you want to bet on Sam Darnold, okay. But
Hmm.
I think the Cardinals are poised to make some noise this year.
Yeah, they absolutely should. They had one of the toughest schedules last year, and now they think they've got like the fifth easiest schedule, based on 2024 results. And I know a lot changes, especially with the offseason. And the Cardinals expect, they improved their roster this offseason, as you said. They were a play away from sweeping the Rams last year. I mean, they absolutely mollywopped them in week two, 41-10. It wasn't a close game. And then the Arizona Cardinals, if Trey McBride, their talented tight end, whips his head around a little bit quicker and the ball doesn't just kind of rebound into the hands of a Rams defender, they're in a prime position to win a game in week 17 of last season and sweep the Niners and sweep the Rams. The biggest kryptonite was Seattle in that defense, and they have to figure out a way to overcome that. Sam Darnold or Geno Smith, it doesn't matter. They just have to play better offensively. But no, this is I think a spot where they should contend in the division for the top spot, if not just be firmly the second team in the division. A lot of people are still high on San Francisco. They're using the reasons for injuries and stuff like that for their downfall last season, but. You look at the mass exodus there. They had a lot of key players exit that organization, and they're getting older. They're getting more expensive. I don't know if that's necessarily like the recipe that you usually see in the NFL to rebound it, even though the Niners have the easiest schedule by a lot, cupcake schedule going into the next season. But they're going to have to win games in the division. And the Cardinals, I think, are a matchup problem for them now with their improved personnel over the last 2 years.
Yeah, we'll see how things go in the NFC West. Bo Brock joining us. The draft come and gone. What were your thoughts? I mean, I didn't really know about Walter Nolan coming into the draft, but
Mm-hmm.
getting Will Johnson in the second round, they got to be happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just pretty a matter of fact. It's like if Will Johnson's healthy, and the big knock on him, or the reason people, speculated he slid, was that the medicals on his knee, which they use the word degenerative. But as of right now, Will Johnson's knee is healthy. And if he's a healthy player, we saw he's a big time playmaking defensive back that led Michigan. He was a key cog as far as them winning the national title. He had more touchdowns, pick sixes, three, than he surrendered touchdowns total in his Wolverines career. I mean, he's just an absolutely absurd defensive back. And for him to slip to 47th overall, second round, it does feel like they got two first rounders for a second consecutive draft. So you've got Walter Nolan, who I think it can be maybe Jonathan Gannon's version of Fletcher Cox, who he had in Philadelphia back when he was the DC, as a kind of a budding prospect that joins now, which was one of the more underserved position groups in the league. Now a pretty stacked defensive line group for the Cardinals that really want to be disruptive, all 2024, 2025 and beyond.
Yeah, you just talked about Walter Nolan and Will Johnson there. Who's somebody that out of that draft class, not a lot of people talking about, you think could make an impact year one?
Yeah, I mean, I like the third rounder Jordan Birch, but we won't just go in order there. I think the fourth rounder Cody Simon, linebacker out of Ohio State, he was the defensive player of the game in the title game, and he's a guy that I think is trending up at the right time in his college career. There's a need for an off-ball linebacker in this defense, and Gannon has shown that he can take guys that don't have like these. They're not top prospects. They're not big money guys. He took guys like TJ Edwards out of Wisconsin as an undrafted player and turned him into a really good linebacker in this league. And I think he expects to do the same with somebody like Cody Simon, who I think has really the potential to start day one. There's going to be a good position battle between him and Akeem Davis Gaither, who came over from Cincinnati. But look, I mean, some of you maybe never even heard that guy's name before. So it's not like he's going to be entrenched at the inside linebacker spot for the Cardinals. So Cody Simon, I think, is very real chance to be a player, even though he's a fourth rounder for the Cardinals day one.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier it's a crucial year for everybody. Year three of Jonathan Gannon. You mentioned guys in the front office. What about Kyler Murray? Because he's good, but I don't think he's good enough. But I don't know. Kyler Murray's just a weird quarterback to me. Like, he's so good, but nobody's going to trade for him. I don't think you can cut him. What are your thoughts on Kyler Murray going into this season?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's that too, right? What you realize, from there in is it Greensboro, right? Is that where
Greenville.
East Carolina is? Greenville. I apologize.
All good.
You realize he's a good quarterback, but is there a ceiling to that, right? But then it's just like in a league or just in the sports landscape, most important position in all of sports. So what's your how do you pivot off of Kyler Murray? Like, where would you go? The quarterback class stunk this year, and there wasn't a whole lot via free agency that you could go to. There's a strong conviction though from Jonathan Gannon in the front office in Kyler Murray. I think you saw some pretty pedestrian numbers last year, right? To where you think this doesn't match the skill set. I think in year three, this is a pivotal year, 2 years removed from his ACL tear, to where he does kind of light it up statistically and maybe kind of turn some heads there. But he does have to kind of move away from like 21 touchdowns, 11 picks, because that he's capable as a former number one pick of bigger, gaudier numbers. And I think he's capable of doing that. And he's going to have to do that. But he's always going to be a polarizing guy. People are going to see the size. They're going to see the way he plays, and it's just going to rub people the wrong way, unfortunately. But I think that the Cardinals believe he's got the ability to be a franchise quarterback, but also this roster's in place to where it's just quarterback proof for anybody. Like, if Kyler Murray becomes a glorified game manager, Jared, it could translate into wins for the Cardinals. Now it's like, can Kyler take them? Can he get into that extra gear, which he does possess, more consistently to where they can go a little bit further than people expect?
Yeah, I hate that term, like game manager, system quarterback. Like, I hate how they have these negative connotations. Where it's like, if he can just do that, the Cardinals, I think, can compete for this division. I mean, hell, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, these were system quarterbacks. These were game managers. I don't know why that term is just so negative in the media.
Yeah, I think you saw one win the Super Bowl. I mean, I know you see the rushing stats for a guy like Jalen Hurts, but as far as just how he operates, especially in the passing attack, he's pretty much a game manager. You look at his stats, you're not blown away by that, his ability to throw the ball. But no, I think as far as front offices, coaching staffs, they don't see it as negative. Like, they see this as a guy who's runner. He can run our system. He can put us in a position to succeed, and he's going to limit the mistakes. And then, also with like Hurts and Kyler, they have this ability to get out and run, which adds and puts more pressure on defenses. So, like, yeah, I think that being tabbed it's kind of changing. The perception of that is changing a little bit nowadays.
Yeah, Bo Brack joining us. Before we let you go, I told you before we got on, I got one Suns question. I know you don't cover the Suns as much as you do the Cardinals, but what the hell is their deal? they have. I mean, they're 2 wins away from winning a finals a few years ago. They
Mhm.
add Kevin Durant, they add Bradley Beal, and you're like, all right, they
Yeah.
have Frank Vogel, a championship coach, and that doesn't work. You bring in Mike Budenholzer, another championship coach, that doesn't
Yeah.
work. So I mean, obviously Kevin Durant's name's on the trade market. Bradley Beal, too big of a contract and has the no trade clause. So I don't think a move's done there. Just what is going on in Phoenix with the Suns?
It's in shambles. It's in disarray, and there's a ton of questions that are huge looming around this organization about KD, and I think it's inevitable the divorces with him moving on, and it's just a matter of like what's going to come in return. Is it going to be potential building blocks to get right back in the thick of things, or is it going to be a little bit longer of a sludge there? I mean, you talk about a couple of games of wins away from the finals. I mean, we're light years away from that. It's just things have just changed so drastically since then. And with the ownership, a guy who's willing to spend money, but at the same time hasn't really leaned into building a winning culture and a cohesive team that's able to, withstand the rigors of an NBA season. Like you see, like especially the two teams in the finals, like the better teams, right? They're deep where it's just like you don't have Book, you don't have KD, you don't really have a chance if you're the Suns. And they've regressed horribly. Like they went from a team that got blown out in the first round by the T Wolves, and then they become a team that doesn't even make the play in. So they've got some heavy lifting to do roster wise. It's more so than just KD and sending him out. It's a mess, and it's gonna take more than just kind of a mop and bucket to clean this thing up. Like there's things on the wall. Like they need somebody to come in here and maybe some fresh eyes. But we'll see. They made some changes as far as some decision makers. They're guys that are tied to the owner Ishbia. I don't know if that's the right move. Like a team I cover, the Cardinals, for the first time in 3 decades, Jared, they look outside the organization for their guys to kind of be the new brain trust, and that's worked out to get some, to have a critical eye of what's going on. I don't know if they've done enough of that as far as the arena downtown and that houses the Suns. They got a long way to go.
Yeah, you mentioned Ashibia with a lot of money, and like you watch the Bengals, and it's like if they had an owner that was willing to spend money, I don't think they'd be in a
Yeah.
lot of the situations they're in. But then you see what's going on with the Suns. You see somebody like David Tepper take over the Carolina Panthers, where it's like, okay, well maybe having all that money doesn't translate into wins. You got to be
Right.
smart with the money. You can't just throw
Especially
it.
in cap leagues. Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially in cap leagues, like you can throw money at a lot of problems, and it's not necessarily going to be the fix. And it's really unfortunate because they had something fun, they had something people wanted to wrap their arms around a couple of years ago, and then now they've got something where it's just like this fan base, which is as devoted as anybody, have a tough time just rooting on their basketball team. And I think even though you got a guy with his heart in the right place, and the Cardinals go through this as well. Ownership is like you can say everything, all the right things that you want to build a winner, but there's so much that goes into that as far as the details of it and building a sustainable winner that I think even the almighty dollar can't fix at times.
yeah. All right, Bo. Before we let you leave, let people know where they can follow you and catch your work.
Yeah, we're talking Cardinals football every day. PHNX Sports. You can find us on YouTube and follow me on Twitter at Bo Brack at PHNX_Cardinals. We appreciate it. Got great stuff, great content hitting daily basis, multiple times.
All right, Bo. Thanks for joining us, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.